For the Kaleidoscope project, you'll work with silhouette images, and we are going to go through these steps to create two different kaleidoscopes using two different silhouette images. This is the image I'm going to work with for this example. This is one that I took, and here I go. I'm going to work here and make some changes to it. I might go through and punch up the saturation a little bit, make the color look a little bit stronger, warm it up so it has a little bit more interest to it. That looks cool. I like that. You can do the editing at this point. Any editing you like to give your image the correct kind of feel. Once you do that, merge them down so that you have this background image. So I've opened my silhouette photograph. I've done the editing on it. I'm going to crop it square. And I'm going to do this by hitting the crop tool, and I'm going to grab here 1:1 square with no resolution. So that will maintain the resolution of the image at its highest rate. So when I do this, I want to look for areas that create diagonals, because straight lines through this do end up not looking as interesting as they could. So I'm going to exaggerate some of the diagonals. Oh, I went the wrong way. Exaggerate some of the diagonals. You'll notice as I rotate my image, it's automatically adjusting the size of my cropped square. That creates some interesting, oh, I wish this were a little bit more. Here, push that. And I want to make sure none of these little white edges are hanging over, because the image won't get created there. So I've got this, and yeah, it's gotten a little bit strange, but it looks cool. And I'm going to do my cropping. I'm going to crop it square. I'm looking for diagonals in this. It will create the more interesting image in the end. So again, I can make any color corrections or contrast, or if I lost a little bit of the image because of the crop, like right there, I can take my clone tool in here and I can fix that little spot, make sure that all of my image is perfect at this stage. Now, I'm going to save this here as good square. Save as my good square. That's my first step. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And I'm going to save it on here in my desktop for what I'm working with, but we're going to do that to your H drive. And there it is. So now, I'm going to create a new image. This time it's going to be big, and we're going to go 18 by 18. As always, 300 dpi, RGB color with a white background, and I'm going to name it Kaleidoscope 1 Mrs. King, because we're going to do two of them. And I'm going to say, okay, there it is. There's my square. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my good square, and I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to copy it. So to Control A, Control C. Just do Control C because I only have the one layer, and I'm going to put it in with Control V. I'm going to paste it in a second time, Control V again. Now I have layer 1, layer 2 set with it that way. And I'm going to put those guys side by side. On my top layer image, I'm going to now flip my image horizontally, and I'll do that by Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And you can see the image there now is a mirror reflection. If I click on the space around it to see remove the transform control keys, you can see that there's a little bit of a hairline, just the tiniest bit of a hairline in there. So I'm going to move that back just the tiniest bit. Just the tiniest bit there to make sure there's no line between the two. Now, this is the lesson on this project, is working with layers. So I'm going to select both of those layers and merge them down. Now I have one here. Now I'm going to go to Layer, Duplicate Layer. It's now created a copy of that. I can pull that down. And this time I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to flip it vertically. Now I've created this mirror image. This is just like a kaleidoscope. I'm going to now merge those down. Here, If you look at the back of your handout, this here is what step 14 looks like. We are here on step vertically. So we're going to line this up to make it square. And I'm going to turn this off temporarily. I'm going to pull a grid line at 9 inches and another grid line here at 9 inches. I'm going to turn my image back on. Now I'm going to scale it to fit my 9-inch square. Using the Shift key will allow me to maintain the aspect ratio. Oh, I lifted up the Shift key there for a second. You can see I lost the proportion of my image. See how it lines up there. Now what do? I have it all set. I'm just going to duplicate my layer. Layer 2, copy 2. Layer 2, copy 3. Layer 2, copy 4. And I'm going to pull these guys out and get them to line up exactly in here. Now you can see why the diagonals created more interest in the image. Straight lines would just end up being bands of color. See if I can get these to line up. I'm going to clear my guides, and then now just clicking on each image, I'm going to wiggle using my keyboard commands to see if I can get them to line up perfectly. I want to zoom in with my navigator to see if things actually do line up nicely, and it appears that they do. No white lines hanging in there. Now, if I want to make this image more complex, I can do what I did already, which would be to merge these down and then scale this guy over and create the same thing again. This is an option. It does not have to go this far. You're good with 16 of them. This creates quite a few more. If I want to, I can take these two here, merge those, and duplicate my layer again and pull that guy down. And we have now created a very complex silhouette. With a little bit of wiggling with my keyboard, it's just a matter of mastering those copy, paste, flip, working with multiple layers, merging down. That's the exercise on this. They look really cool. You'll see after doing the first one what type of image will look really good as your final result, and you'll be set for your 2 kaleidoscope images.